What's up everyone, I'm SigmaTech72 and welcome to my mod spotlight for the Muttaburrasaurus added by Aussie Additions Muttaburrasaurus by Nick BS2. Let's kick this off by talking about where you can find the Muttaburrasaurus. So I've attempted to highlight roughly the spots where they spawn on each map with some sick drawing skills and questionable color choices. Of course, I can only talk about maps that have been released at the time of recording, so any maps released after this point will be anyone's guess. Starting with the island, you're able to find them in the jungles and plains, which is honestly just about the whole map. Definitely cast a wide net if you're looking for them here, but this is a great map to look for the Muttaburrasaurus. On Scorched Earth, you're going to be able to find them in the Green Desert, Oasis, and the Canyons. These spawns are going to comprise most of the interior of the map, so this is also a pretty good map to try and find them on. Finally, you're going to be able to find them on Extinction. You're able to find them across Sanctuary, which is, of course, the huge diamond-shaped city in the middle of the map. And you're going to be able to find them in the Desert Biodome located in the lower right-hand part of the map. So let's start talking about how to tame and ride your very own Muttaburrasaurus. So to start with, for the saddle, it is, if I go into Ingrams and search Muttaburrasaurus, so it's unlocked at level 55, and you're going to be able to craft it for 200 fiber, 15 metal ingots, and 350 hide. And it is crafted in the smithy. It doesn't actually mention it, but if I go into the smithy real quick here, and then search Mutta right there. So you can see we do have to craft it in the smithy, and I've already got one pre-crafted, so I'll just go ahead and grab that. As far as taming, this is almost a classic passive tame. The only caveats that you'll need are you probably do want to bring some weapons or a good tame because there's some combat associated with it. And we'll talk about that when we get into the actual taming. So if I open this, I've got a full set of ghillie. I normally always recommend ghillie armor for when people do passive tames just to limit the amount of interference you get from some of the other creatures around. So we'll just go ahead and grab all that. And I've got a shotgun and a fabricated sniper, so we'll talk about why we need these weapons in a second. You really don't need both, you probably only need one, but I like to have both just to help me feel better. And then finally, superior kibble is what you actually need to tame it, so you can use superior or higher, but superior is the lowest level of kibble needed. And then in here, I've just got some ammo, so we'll just grab 200 of each, because I don't think we should need any more. And then with that should be all we really need. So let's go see if we can go find a couple Muttaburrasauruses. Welcome back. So we found a decent sized herd of Muttaburrasauruses right here along the riverbanks. I don't know if these are going to normally spawn in this large of a group. This could just be single player settings, but I do know it is possible for them to spawn in groups. So it'll be pretty common to find them in herds like this at least. Now, the one thing I do want to note is that if you take a look, they do all come in different sizes. So if I check this one out here on the side, this is 0.92. That one over there is a 0.9, 0.91. Ours right there is a 1.0. And then I think, yeah, one more is a 1.04. So the sizes do affect the health that they have. I think I think you can kind of see it right there. The spyglass is actually telling us a little bit more maybe, but it does affect their health gain. So what we do need to do is we are going to have to cull the members of the herd, and it looks like something's going on. Oh no, okay. Yeah, there's my 150, so we're going to go try and track it down and maybe save it. Oh, that was a baby. Oh, that makes me feel bad. Sweet. Alright, and I think that does leave our 150. We're all good to feed now that we've culled the herd and everything's nice and calm. So all we really have to do is just go up and feed it like a normal. To start with, he's going to spawn a bunch of creatures based on whatever call he used. We will also have an aggro effect, which means everything in the area is going to get pissed at us. Oh, okay. Whoops, 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 whoops. Oh, that is... Whew, okay. Alright. Okay. So just to recap, because there was a lot going on. So, The Muttaburrasaurus is going to have a set of calls. Can I not shoot this? The Muttaburrasaurus is going to have a set of calls that it can use. I think it's 6, and we'll talk about more about them once we get it tamed. But each time you feed it, it's going to summon whatever call it used. And then it also gives you like that rare flower effect, so it all pisses everything in the area around. So it's a lot of killing. And naturally, the little coward runs off as soon as he does that and sits here and hides in the corner. So if you look, it's actually kind of sad. but, but we can go up and feed him immediately. And oh, that's a Rex. Okay, I should have reloaded before I did that. Alright, there we go. Okay. Is there one? Okay, not one over there. Okay, alright. Well, that was 3 Rexes, and I'm actually just gonna hang over here until the rare flower effect goes off. Let's go find the little scamp. Where'd he go? Yep, there he is. Summons a bunch of creatures and then runs off to be afraid. Look at this. Look at this. What is this? Alright, can I reach him? Here we go. Alright, and with this last feed, he is still gonna summon stuff, so just FYI. That is... Oh, okay. Looks like it sounded like it was mammoths. Yep, looks like it was mammoths. Oh my gosh, at the Dimorphodons. Alright, we're gonna head over here. Oh shit, okay. I think he's fighting. Fuck me. Oh, okay. What you doing, fella? Okay, alright, that's the Dimorphodon done. And let's... And yeah, with that, we're done taming it. I feel like this was so much more chaotic than the Edmontonia. So that's all you have to do. Passive tame, feed him kibble, kill whatever is attacking you, go find him, and then feed him again. And then just repeat that cycle until he's tame. So I think with that, we can go ahead and move on to attacks and abilities. Alright, so let's move on to attacks and abilities. So starting out, we'll start with the left click. And it looks like this Parasaur is going to be my test dummy. So the left click attack has a pretty decent knockback if we use it. The other thing is, we may have to kill this Troodon now. Whoops. Okay, well that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. The other thing as well is it can be used if you face the camera backwards. So if I face it this way, this causes its tail to do the swipe instead. Now the one thing I'll note is that as far as gathering goes, I can't actually gather doing the front attack, but if I do the tail attack, it gathers berries from bushes and thatch and wood from trees. I don't know if it's intended for only the tail attack to do that, or maybe it's a bug that the front attack doesn't, but I mean it's not a bad gatherer. So I mean, I have 2x rates, but it's definitely not the worst. So the main gimmick of Muttaburrasaurus is its ability to cycle through a couple different calls. It currently has 6 calls that it's able to cycle through, and you're able to see which one you currently have active up there in the top right of the screen. So you can see right now we're Aspect of Self, which is just the Muttaburrasaurus call. We're in Aspect of Raptor right now, Aspect of Baryonyx, Aspect of Stegosaurus, Aspect of Mammoth, and Aspect of Tyrannosaurus. So each one of those calls has a different effect that you're able to activate using right click. And let's talk about what each call actually does. So starting with the Muttaburrasaurus call, if I press right click to activate it, it now grants us a new status called Muttaburra Camo. So if I go into our inventory to show the buff, you can see it just makes us hard to detect. So this is almost like a cactus broth where we can kind of get a little bit closer to creatures without aggroing them. However, the Muttaburra call actually has an additional effect. So if I activate it now by this wild Muttaburrasaurus, you can see that it has some icons towards its head. Very Very transparent. But if I go and feed it, you can see it does not run off, and there's no creatures that we're having to fight. So once you get the first Muttaburrasaurus, you are able to use it to tame other ones much easier, which I think is a cool little effect. So the next call we're able to do is the raptor call. So if I press this, you can see it does actually copy the raptor. And then if I go into inventory and show buffs, you can see we now have a buff called Raptor Swiftness, which increases our movement speed, decreases our stamina drain, and adds a flat 2.5 stam regeneration. Alright, the next buff we have is the aspect of Baryonyx. So if I press right click to activate this, you can see we now have a new buff called Baryonyx's Alacrity. If I go into inventory and show that, we now have an increased swim speed, decreased oxygen drain, and then again another 2.5 stamina regen. This is one that I feel like is gonna be very niche in its uses. I don't know a situation where you would want to buff swim speed and oxygen drain that occurs often enough to warrant its common use, but it's there in case you need it. Our next buff is going to be Aspect of Stegosaurus. So if I activate it, we now have a new buff called Stegosaurus's Durability, which increases our damage resistance and gives us a 2.5 health regeneration factor. So our next buff that we can use is the Mammoth. Now this one's actually unique because this one doesn't apply to your allies. This applies to enemies. So this raptor is doing 26 damage. If I activate the buff, you can see it's doing 24, which is a little less. So the Mammoth buff decreases enemies' damage output by 10%, which is, you know, not a lot. But the thing to note is it does stack with the actual Mammoth's buff as well, so you could get some pretty significant reduction on how much your enemies are doing. Our final buff is going to be the Rex buff, so if I go ahead and activate it, you can see it does do the Rex's Roar, and we now have a buff called Tyrannosaurus Might. So this will increase our damage and do some health regen, and it looks like this raptor wants to try. So let's give it a little bit. So unfortunately, it's like it's alpha buffed by something nearby. Gotta love the island's alpha spawns. Let's see. Are we gonna be able to take this out? I hope so. This would be embarrassing if this thing dies. Let's go ahead and re-up it. Alright, and mainly for the health regen at this point. Ooh, we're actually looking pretty low, so this is definitely not a combat tame, like I said. More of a utility. Shit, and that's an alpha raptor. Okay, sweet. Alright, let's run over here before the alpha raptor gets us. The other thing that I do want to note about these buffs is that whichever one is currently active does apply a weaker effect to the Muttaburrasaurus as a constant. So we do have the Rex buff active, so this will increase our damage by a smaller amount than 10% and probably give us a little bit more of a health regen. But it's not nearly as powerful as the actual buff that's performed by clicking right click. And the other thing I did want to note is if you are quick enough, you can stack all the buffs. So if I go Rex, go ahead and change into Muttaburrasaurus. Come on. There we go. Okay, I missed Muttaburrasaurus because I hit C too much. Alright, let's go to Stegosaurus. Alright. Next up is Mammoth. Okay, well we don't get anything from Mammoth, but we can still do it. And then maybe I can quickly get to Muttaburrasaurus before they all run out. Yes! Okay. So that's all 5 buffs stacked for just a couple seconds, but just to show that you can do it. And I think the one thing that I didn't show, and I don't remember if I mentioned it, these do apply to your allies and to yourself. So you can see I do get these buffs as the rider down there in the bottom right. And yeah, that's really it for the attacks and abilities that Muttaburrasaurus has. Like I said, it's much more of a utility or support tame instead of a outright damage dealer. Alright, let's go ahead and move on to color regions then. So, like usual, we've started out by setting our Muttaburrasaurus' color regions all to Dino Albino, so color ID 36. So this is just a quick preview of it as it's not got any color to it. Although it does look like it's still got some shading. Alright, so our first color region is color region 1. We've just gone ahead and set it to red. You can see it is kind of the tips of the feathers on the tail, as well as some of the tips of the feather on its crest. So just briefly rotating again, so it looks like it is just some of the tips of the feathers on the tail and the crest. Our next color region is color region 2, and you can see this is just basically the whole body. So this comprises most of the Muttaburrasaurus' color, so definitely keep this in mind as this will be the color you'll probably base it on. Our next color region is color region 3, so this looks to be kind of the complementary to color region 1 as far as some of these feathers. As well, it is the stripes along the back, and again, complementary to 1 about the feathers on top. Additionally, this is the actual throat pouch, so this does get inflated whenever you use some of the calls. So this is definitely something to keep in mind when you try to mutate this color region. So a final color region that Muttaburrasaurus uses is color region 5. So color region 5 is the underbelly, and the one thing I'll note is this is a much lighter shade than what is actually being applied. Maybe a little bit of this kind of yellowy, pale yellow mixed in with a little bit of white. So, I mean, it does look a little pinky, but much more lighter red than what the shade is. So definitely something to keep in mind with this color region. And with that, that is our last color region. So I hope you're able to come up with some cool color schemes, and happy mutating. So as for my final thoughts on this creature, I mean, I like it. I thought it was weird ARK never had any hadrosaurs beyond the Parasaur and Iguanodon, and also I'm a sucker for fun tames that are not just another end-game geek level carnivore. Because let's be real, the early and mid-game of ARK could use some love as well. Now, as far as its abilities, I think the selection of buffs are great, and I think they do actually help it potentially have some end-game utility. I don't think it will ever fully replace the UT or Daeodon, but I think it could maybe be used as a supplement for boss armies. I can maybe see where the fact that its abilities stack with the UT and Daeodon could help outweigh its potential for dying, and it's definitely something I would want to test, but it'd probably have to be heavily mutated. But overall, I think this is a great creature to add for something that's fun and unique to your playthroughs that's not just another giga level in-game carnivore.